As Poilievre takes stock outside the House, shifting his focus to winning a seat in Alberta, Andrew Scheer will take on the party's leadership inside the House of Commons.
I'm going to keep seeing the bald woman.
She's as good as anybody else.
Something everyone
Scalp was clean. She had a nice skull. There wasn't a lot of hair on it.
What? You know, you've had like a religious awakening. You're like a bald again.
How you doing, gang? Aaron right here, Canadian Looney. So last time these guys went at it, it looked like this. David Cochrane from CBC versus Andrew Scheer, the new interim leader of the Conservative Party. This guy, David Cochrane, I've got questions about this guy. Like, let's take a look at how it went last time he had Andrew Scheer on the show. It was so unprofessional, talking over your guest. Come on, like, it's lame. Let's take a peek.
That will be able to finish the job in the next election.
Right, but your party may not be able to rely on post-COVID inflation crisis that was fueled by, war in the breadbasket of Europe and supply.
David, you know this. You know that inflation is caused when governments print money.
Well,
that's what the Liberals did. The Liberals flooded the economy with brand new cash. It has nothing to do.
They spent money. They didn't print money. The Bank of Canada did not increase the number of banknotes in circulation in the economy. They used settlement balances.
David,
they used settlement balances to buy government bonds to put liquidity. I'm not being dishonest.
They created money out of thin air. They massively expanded the money supply. You know this.
They did not permanently increase the money supply, Mr. Scheer. But anyway, I don't want to have an argument on monetary policy. They used settlement balances to buy bonds, to lower interest rates, to put liquidity into the banking system, and then they remove those settlement balances over time. So,
are you denying that there is more currency, whether it's digital or real, in the Canadian economy today? Are you denying?
I'm saying they use settlement balances, and you're calling it money. There may be a small marginal increase, but it is not the anyway. Everybody had anyway. All right.
Yeah.
Here we go.
I need a little more coffee.
So round two with these guys, like Andrew Scheer, who is very smart and funny, against David Cochrane, who maybe is autistic and at least dysfunctional. What a weird guy. Beam me up, Captain Picard. Like, anyhow, let's watch round two. Andrew Scheer can handle his own.
I can't believe I'm doing this.
Jerry, just remember, it's not a lie if you believe it.
As Poilievre takes stock outside the House, shifting his focus to winning a seat in Alberta, Andrew Scheer will take on the party's leadership inside the House of Commons. Saskatchewan Conservative MP and newly elected opposition leader Andrew Scheer is here with me in the studio. Mr. Scheer, good to see you again. Thanks for being here.
Good to see you too.
The new job's a bit like the old job. You've held this role before. I mean, congratulations on it. I mean, how do you plan to approach this in this unusual interim period where you're in this job?
Yeah, thanks very much. First of all, I do just want to correct something you said on the air last time I was on your show. You said the government did not permanently increase the money supply. They absolutely did. The money supply.
Andrew Scheer won't let it go.
Is over $700 billion on M2.
Because he was right.
Higher today than it was during the pandemic, and the settlement balances are still significant.
How do you think Cochrane will react?
Significantly higher than pre-lockdown period. So I just want to put that on the table.
Okay, the Bank of Canada did that, to be clear.
Well, they were buying government bonds because of deficit spending. But anyway, what we're describing this role is this is a parliamentary role until Pierre Poilievre has a seat again. I'll just be taking over some of the duties that require somebody to have a seat to do that. So moving certain motions and managing some of the operations around the leader's office. But we had a great meeting yesterday. We had MPs, all the new MPs that we won in parts of the country that we have never won before, like Welland and in southwestern Ontario. So there's a great sense of optimism. We're obviously, looking through what we did or what we didn't do that led us to falling short. But there's a real renewed sense of optimism and unity behind Pierre Poilievre.
Okay, so what was the big takeaway, though? Because there was a feedback and in the early hours after the loss from the caucus when they gather here about, I guess, what went right, what went wrong, and maybe changes of direction or things you need to stick with. I mean, what's your high-level takeaway from the feedback the caucus presented?
Yeah, I think first and foremost, we have to actually look at the data. The data tells the story about what happens. It tells the story of how we had tremendous growth in ridings that we lost by small numbers of votes. So, we lost some seats with 46, 47% of the vote. in most elections, getting 45 and above means you win the seat. It didn't mean that this time. What does that mean for the party? The new math, electoral math, is the NDP permanently in the single digits across the country. In my own province of Saskatchewan, they got less than 8%. This is the birthplace of the CCF and NDP movement. Clearly, counting on the NDP to take 10 to 20% of the vote might not be part of the...
Those days are over for the NDP. I think, like, who could they get as leader? Like, Heather McPherson? Come on.
Decision-making going forward. What we aren't going to do is we're not going to listen to people who don't want our party to win to diagnose the problem. We want to meet with candidates who fought. We want to meet with volunteers who are at doors all across the country. We want to hear from them. And we're in the early days of compiling all of that feedback, while at the same time recognizing that to go from 34% to 42%, to increase seat counts by over 20 seats and picking up these seats in historic places is a great base to build from. So we don't want to lose anything that we've built, and that's part of the team coming behind Pierre yesterday that we saw, is that everyone believes that Pierre is the guy that can get those missing 3, 4, 5% to put us over the top next time.
What was his message to caucus? Because look, losing the election, you know, in these circumstances, I mean, you know, who knows if it's going to stay this binary in the next election or not, and whether you'll hold and the Liberals will hold. I mean, who knows where that will go. But, you know, your leader lost a seat. He's now going to run out in Alberta. I mean, what was his message as to how that happened in terms of why Carleton went the way it did?
Well, you know, the riding has changed. The makeup of the riding has also changed. Some of the issues that resonate in a place like Ottawa, I know that in Ottawa there's a lot of people that work in public administration, in government services, government departments. So sometimes the issue sets that our party speaks about might be a little bit different, or might be received a little bit differently here. So again, you know, you really do have to take time to sift through and say, okay, even when you gain votes in a riding, if it doesn't mean that you gained enough to win, we have to figure out why, where, which communities, you know, which demographics. We saw incredible growth from young people. The 18 to 35 demographic really came out in a big way and supported our party to historic levels. That's incredibly optimistic. You know, most marketing teams will tell you if you can get young people to like what you're doing or like what you're saying, that bodes well for the future. So we need to look at some of the demographics that didn't come our way this time, or didn't break our way as much as other demographics did, and figure out, is that a policy thing? Is that was that the way the campaign was run? Was that some of the messages that we put out? So Pierre's message was, you know, reflective. Obviously, he's the leader. He takes responsibility for the campaign and for the operations. But so reflectiveness and a willingness to hear from both MPs, candidates, and volunteers across the country what needs to be done, and a commitment to do what it takes to deliver the victory next time.
But I wonder, is the conclusion you're drawing, or maybe it's too early to know, that it's sort of like, keep on keeping on, you know, like essentially get to a do-over, get Mr. Poilievre back into the House of Commons, stick with Jenny Byrne as the campaign manager, and, you know, hope for a better outcome in the next election and work for it?
What's this issue with Jenny Byrne?
Or do you take
that
from any
come
of this a
from?
message that something needs to change and there will be change? Because if the leader and the strategist and the team around them stays the same, and that's your choice, that doesn't sound like change. I mean, how should we interpret that from the outside?
Mm-hmm. Well, what I would say is that you know, if you you know, if you score 50 points in the Grey Cup and lose on a field goal in the last few minutes, you certainly don't start, you know, just getting rid of all the people who helped get you that close. You take a look and say, okay, what aspect of this allowed caused us not to win? And I believe that people who have experience can absolutely do things differently the next time. Sometimes the best person to do a job the second time is the person who tried the first time, because they see the gaps. I'm sure Pierre has seen what it's like to manage a campaign, to lead a campaign from the Leaders Tour. I'm sure he now sees things and has appreciated things about whether it's various campaign systems that are set up, or how messages are received. Same is true for all the campaign team that were working in what we call our war room. You know, the ones that were planning the campaign and planning the messaging, doing the ad buys. I'm sure the people in that room now have experience and know what they would do a little bit differently, a little bit more of this, a little bit less of the other.
So more refinement than wholesale revolution.
Well, I think anytime you go from 34 to 42, anytime you win seats in historic levels, win votes that have never been historically associated with our party. I'll tell you, in 2015, when we were going through our election results after the loss in 2015, we were told that the three big groups that Conservatives had to figure out with were new Canadians, young people, and unionized workers, people who work in unionized trades. Those three groups came our way big time. So there's a lot to be optimistic about, and making those refinements, making those changes, I believe are what's necessary. And again, doing that in a data-driven way, really taking the time to go through the results, not 1 week after the election suddenly deciding, that person is responsible for this, or this is what causes. I mean, we want to do this in a thoughtful way. We owe it to our members to get this right. We owe it to our voters to get this right, and that's what we're going to do.
So the issue set that you outlined in terms of the National Capital Region that might have played a role in the Carleton outcome. Obviously, Mr. Poilievre is running very far away from the National Capital Region, going back to
Running very far away. He always does that. He always puts some twist, some connotation, like telling you, like, Cochrane is an ass.
the province where he grew up and running in Alberta. That issue set, though, does that suggest that maybe Mr. Poilievre, his next chapter of his political career is in the West, it is in Alberta, rather than...
Because he was running away like Cochrane. Yeah, we've said it already. He's a jerk.
Back here, sort of in the Ottawa area?
No, I was just trying to answer your question about why in one particular area or another.
But those issues may very well be there when the next election happens, too.
They may. I mean, I believe that the Liberals will be hard-pressed to create the conditions that led to their victory. A massive, unprecedented...
Andrew Scheer keeps smiling with those dimples, though. Like, he looks like Chucky from those crazy comedy horror movies. Like,
a threat from a U.S. president saying things about our country that literally no other U.S. president has ever said, and dumping a sitting prime minister who didn't want to go right on the eve of an election. I doubt that those conditions are going to be there. But for right now, what we know is that DAMIEN KUREK has offered to step down and allow Pierre to run there. We're hopeful that the people of Battle River Crowfoot allow Pierre to come back to the House, and Pierre is taking this very seriously. He's not taking this lightly, earning the trust of people in that riding. So he can come back in the House and lead us from the House of Commons. What happens after that? What we do know is that Mr. KUREK will be running in that seat in the next general election, and we're taking this one step at a time. So I don't have an answer for you right now on where that might be, but I'm sure as the next election comes closer that we'll be making those kinds of announcements.
Well, Mr. Carney has promised a quick by-election call, so I mean, it's going to take time just because the process takes time, but it's like end of summer probably, Mr. Poilievre.
He's explaining for Carney, like telling you this guy, David Cochrane, is a paid for douche.
Assuming he wins, we'll be back in the fall. So in the interim, though, we have this weird dynamic where he is the leader of the Conservative Party, but you are the leader of the opposition. What happens with Stornoway? Does Mr. Poilievre and his family stay there? Because you technically have the right to go in there. You're supposed to be a member of Parliament. I know this is sort of a transitional period. I mean, what's the decision there? What's going to happen?
Well, it's the day after our caucus made the decision, so some of those discussions are still ongoing. I mean, for my own view is it does cost a lot of taxpayers' money to move somebody else, to move somebody out, move somebody in, just to move them out, just to move somebody in again. So I'm going to be taking my own view on this is whatever is the most efficient, the most cost-effective for Canadian taxpayers. We don't want this to add to any extra burden. So those discussions are very early on. But again, it's the most important thing for us is we want Pierre to have a seat back in the House of Commons as quickly as possible. We expect to take Mr. Carney.
It's a weird question, David Cochrane. Like, again, I have my own questions about David Cochrane.
He's promised to do this very quickly, so we anticipate that this is just an 8 to 12 week scenario, and whatever decisions are made around office space and residences and things like that, in the grand scheme of things, will be moot very quickly.
Right, but there's a world where they stay there because of ease and cost, and because of the transitional nature of this and how temporary it might be.
Well, again, very early days of those discussions, so I don't want to prejudge anything that may come out of that.
Okay. Opposition Leader, Andrew Scheer. It's good to see you again. Thanks for coming in. All right.
So that's going to wrap it up there with David Cochrane. I find that guy very frustrating. He lands all these great guests, but he's rude and very, very apparent. Like, he's not much of a journalist. He's a editorialist or columnist. Like, he's a segment. Whatever. Beam me up, Captain. My name's Aaron. This is Canadian Loney. Like, share, subscribe. We're going to take one more peek at our friend DAMIEN KUREK, who, you know, is giving up his seat for Poilievre to take it over. And I don't know what happens to KUREK after this. We'll try to follow that. Anyhow, Aaron, Canadian Loney. Like, share, subscribe. That's it. Get notified. Catch the next video. David Cochrane and the CBC. We can see right through you guys. Everybody knows. Hey voters, what's up? Aaron here, Question Period Canada. Breaking news. There was a wild moment today in Parliament during Question Period. DAMIEN KUREK, a fierce MP from Alberta, called Trudeau a liar to his face. He was asked to apologize more than once. He would not. Called him a liar again. Got the boot. That's it. Let's check out the video. It's worth seeing.
Honourable member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Mr. Speaker, yesterday, Liberal-appointed senators voted to gut common-sense Conservative Bill C-234, an action that betrays farmers. For the last decade, this PM has repeatedly made the claim that the Senate and those he appoints to it are independent, yet this weekend proved otherwise. He and his Socialist Environment Minister were busy employing a campaign of bullying and pressure to force his senators to kill this needed carbon tax carve-out. The carbon tax is punishing the farmers who produce the food and the folks that need it. Will this Prime Minister finally just listen to Canadians and axe his carbon tax? Hey, hey!
It's a rare occasion, but Trudeau was in the House today, and the question was for Trudeau. KUREK was asking him, but that's not who answers. Check out who does.
Minister of Agriculture.
Mr. Speaker, I think my honourable colleague is well aware the other place makes a decision on their own. We do not. The Conservative Party of Canada has senators in their caucus. The Conservative Party of Canada does not have a policy or a plan for the environment. But I can assure my honourable colleague that we do have a plan for the environment, and that's why we're able to make an investment of $1.5 billion to help farmers, processors reduce their environmental footprint. Mr. Speaker, we have and will continue to support our farmers and ranchers in this country.
I just want to say, I mean, as I said, the Honourable Minister sits right here. I can barely hear him. So let's try to keep the sound down.
Lawrence Macaulay is 77 years old. The question KUREK was asking was for Trudeau. He's pissed that Trudeau wouldn't answer the question. He's going to lose control. You gotta see this.
The Honourable Member for Battle River Crowfoot.
Mr. Speaker, I know for a fact that farmers are asking that minister to axe the carbon tax. That PM promised that the Senate would be independent, but the actions this past week proved that that is a complete farce. We know he bullied his senators. The PM himself was on the phone over the weekend telling them they had to gut Bill C-234. The Prime Minister lied, and his minions continue to lie about
Greg Fergus is away, so substitute House Speaker Chris D'Entremont has a real situation on his hands to deal with. How do you think it's going to go?
The Honourable Member who got here at the same time I did knows full well that you can't use that word. I would say the Honourable Member should retract that and apologize. The Honourable Member Battle River Crowfoot.
Mr. Speaker, I will not apologize to that Prime Minister when he continues to lie about the independence of the Senate.
I'm asking the Honourable Member to apologize for the second time and retract that word. The Honourable Member knows full well you cannot use that word in this chamber.
Now, DAMIEN KUREK's being given a second chance to apologize. Do you think he will?
So this is the last opportunity. The Honourable Member of Battle River Crowfoot, will you be retracting that?
It's the truth. It's the truth. I will not apologize to the Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker.
Mr. KUREK, would you mind leaving us today?
It would seem to me that Damien KUREK's stock just went way up. Did you see that round of applause from the Conservatives? Do you think KUREK's going to think it was worth it to call the Prime Minister a liar to his face in the House of Parliament a number of times, not apologize, and get the afternoon off? Sounds like a good deal to me. I'm Aaron.
Cut it out. Get out of here.
Hey, that's something everyone can enjoy.
Welcome to the Great White North, aka Canadian Corner.
How's it going, eh?
Bob McKenzie's my brother Doug. Today our topic is dog scoops. Okay, like at our place we don't need one because like the yard's real big, so the dog just goes out and you know it doesn't matter.
We just don't walk in the yard and like don't ever mow the yard real early in spring without doing some cleanup first.
Otherwise, that won't be that color.
Oh, hello. Do you have a warrant to be here?
Oh, yeah. It's time for a change in this country, my friends. A real change.
Wiggle and squirm as you might, it is really hard to put lipstick on a pig.
When I'm Prime Minister, I will keep my promises.
WTF.
Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics. Justin Trudeau is a fighter. Fighters get knocked out.
The one we call Canadian.
Gentlemen, beam me aboard.
Oh, yeah.